Unprotected by Brett Nelson. Chapter 4. James sneaked into the kitchen to watch Julie as she worked. "I'm here to finish your flower beds in the back." Her head snapped up, and a flour-dusted hand flew to her throat. "Oh, you startled me. I was beginning to worry about you." "Why were you worried about me?" She shrugged. "You're usually here by now, that's all." "I stopped by the cafe for a cup of coffee and watched the sheriff get all riled up." He snickered, even though the abhorrent condition of the nation left little room to laugh about. "That sheriff of ours, bless his heart, gets riled if the wind blows in from a different direction than he thinks it should." She sprinkled a thick layer of dark powder across a flat layer of dough. "Not to brag, but when you need a caffeine fix, I make much better coffee than that greasy spoon." "You make the best coffee in town, hands down." He jerked his head toward the door. "I better get out there and start on the flower beds, or I may never finish. I promise to be out of your hair as soon as I can. You want a muffin to munch on before you start work? I have orange dark chocolate chunk." Maybe later. The weatherman says heavy storms will roll in this afternoon, so I better get started." She leaned in and winked. "If you don't finish today, there's always tomorrow." "Why hold off for tomorrow what can be done today? Plus, if it rains, I can save time by letting God water your flowers." With intrigue, he watched as she rolled the dough into a log. "What are you making?" "Cinnamon rolls. Come back in an hour and you can have one fresh from the oven, slathered with thick cream cheese icing." He patted his paunchy stomach. "You make it impossible for a guy to be good." She nodded, unconcerned with his plot. "Oh my, though, storms, huh? I guess I better bring in the linens from the clothesline before the heavens open up." "That might not be a bad idea. Otherwise, you might be plucking your fitted sheets out of Barney Harrison's apple trees." "Wouldn't crabby old Harrison just love that?" she giggled. Back outside, he paused at the sound of loud music in the distance. His jaw dropped at the sight of the same maroon van that had ran him off the road. He wanted to scream at them to slow down, but the effort would be in vain from this distance. As far as he could tell, the van never slowed as it sped toward town. "I hope the sheriff nails that idiot for speeding." Instead of focusing on careless drivers, he dropped to his knees and allowed the surrounding nature to work the anger from his soul. A few hours later, he knocked on the back door and peeked into the kitchen where Julie stood in almost the same spot as before. "You have time to come out back and see your new flower beds?" "I was about to head out that way. I'll pour us both a nice glass of iced tea." He sat in an Adirondack chair on the back porch and gazed out at the massive property that, in his estimation, went back at least 50 acres. A white tool shed was on one side of the yard, and farther back was a barn big enough to park 3 tractors and a year's worth of hay for the horses. He couldn't see it from here, but a fully stocked pond lay just over a knoll on the back of the property. It was a soothing place to sit and ponder one's life. Julie walked onto the porch that was decorated with lanterns of various sizes, rocking chairs, Adirondack chairs, and enough ferns to replenish the Amazon forest if it ever ran out. On the nearest table, she placed a serving tray loaded with tuna salad finger sandwiches, freshly baked cinnamon rolls, and 2 glasses of iced tea. "Oh, my word, James!" Julie rushed to the railing and gazed from one side of the yard to the other. "You really outdid yourself. Look at all those swirls of color swaying in the wind. My guest will love what you did back here. You exceeded my expectations. I love it." "Well, I'm glad you gave me a chance to put my thumbprint on your property. If you don't mind, before I leave, I'd like to snag a few pictures to include in our new brochure when I get around to having it made." "Take as many pictures as you'd like." She looked around the yard with a contented sigh. "As happy as I am with all this beauty you created, I'm a bit sad now, too. I'll have to think of more projects for you to do so you'll keep coming around. Since when do I need a job to come and see you? Even though I didn't get to talk to him before he died, At his funeral, I promised Parker I'd watch out for you since he wasn't here to do it. Wild horses couldn't keep me from visiting. All you have to do is call and I'll be here. Parker would appreciate all you've done for me. I know you have a job and a family, but I miss seeing you on the days you're not here. You're one of my oldest friends. I know I don't make it over as often as I should, but I could never stay away from you for long. She waggled a finger at him. No, we're at the age where we never call each other old friends. We're good friends. Fine, you're one of my best good friends. Besides, where would Sarah and I ride horses on weekends if it weren't for you? As he said the words, a rumble of thunder rolled in the distance like the guttural growl from the throat of a ferocious, unseen beast. He glanced over the treetops toward town at ominous clouds rolling at them. I guess that's my cue to wrap it up for the day. He rushed to the flower beds, gathered his gardening tools, and shoved them into his heavy nylon work bag. By the time he got back to the porch, Julie had cleared the dishes from their light lunch and disappeared back into the kitchen. He thrust the upper half of his body into the house. I'm headed out, Julie. See you later. You be careful out there. She followed him onto the porch and scanned the sky toward them. I don't like the look of those clouds. Do you think you should stay here until it blows over? He shook his head. I'll be home in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. If I leave now, I'll probably beat the storm. She gave him a pensive look, then grabbed him in a loose hug. Then you better get going. If the weather gets too bad, get yourself and all the guests down to that fabulous basement of yours. I won't feel too sorry for you if you have to use it since it's a minibar away from being the Ritz. I promise to take all the necessary precautions. She pushed him toward the steps. Now get home while you still have the chance. Section break. Honey, I'm home, James called as he stepped into the house. In here. He followed the scent of dinner to the kitchen and wrapped Sarah in his arms from behind as she stirred a simmering pot on the stove. He rested his chin on her shoulder. I think Julie tried to seduce me today with her tuna fish sandwiches and cinnamon rolls, he teased with a breathy whisper. She stopped stirring and turned to face him. Of course she tried to seduce you. You're incredibly handsome. Who could blame any woman for trying? They jumped apart when a loud crash of thunder rattled the walls. He went to the window and looked out at a charcoal gray sky. The trees whipped in the wind, but the rain had yet to start. Other people are with her, but I hate the thought of Julie being there during this storm. He stepped onto the back porch and shivered at the uncomfortably cooler temperature and the thick moisture that hung in the air. Back in the house, he latched the door behind him as another loud crash made him jump. Storms didn't scare him, but the thunder sounded much closer than usual. He wondered if they were on the precipice of something bad. Where are the kids? With all this thunder, I can't believe they're not in here under our feet. Gabriel's playing games in his room, as usual, and Maddie's asleep on the couch. Asleep? This late? James moaned. Ugh, it's going to take forever to get her down tonight. Well, as much as I was up with her last night, trust me, she'll still sleep like a baby. You woke up with her last night? Another loud crash of thunder hit, but this time it didn't vibrate the entire house. Sarah minced a few cloves of garlic and added it to the pan of sizzling butter. She screamed like a banshee at like 3 o'clock this morning. It woke the entire house, except apparently you. Even Gabriel got up and made a smart aleck remark about her needing an exorcism. She shook her head. I don't even want to know how our 10-year-old kid knows about exorcisms. Probably these darned public schools. Daddy, I hit a piñata at school today. His daughter plowed into the kitchen with a bright smile and wrapped her arms around one of his legs. Honey, that's wonderful. He scooped her into his arms and smothered her face with kisses, then glanced back at Sarah. If she was that sick, should she have gone to school? She woke up at 6 this morning running around like a live wire. She didn't have a fever, so it didn't seem right not to send her to school as usual. He He brushed his nose against hers and spoke in a goofy voice. Well, that's good, because we can't raise a truant, now can we? His heart swelled when she released a screech of laughter. Why did you hit a piñata in class? They always have piñata day when one of the kids has a birthday, Sarah explained. I got Skittles. She kicked her legs with excitement. Down! James set her down and she disappeared back into the living room. Another clap of thunder rumbled the ground, this time followed by blinding flashes of lightning, followed by a deafening deluge of rain. James stepped back onto the back porch. He had no in-depth knowledge of meteorology, but he still loved watching bad weather when it happened. The wind whipped the trees to and fro like ballerinas engaged in a bizarre dance ritual, and the rain fell so hard that he couldn't see halfway across the yard. When a cold mist sprayed his face, he trudged back inside. Gabriel padded into the kitchen and flung open the refrigerator. What's for dinner? I'm starving. Get out of there, Sarah snapped. We'll eat as soon as the garlic bread is ready. 5 minutes tops. 5 minutes? Gabriel whined. I'll starve and die by then. Spoken like a true bottomless pit, James muttered to Sarah. I promise you won't die of starvation within the next 5 minutes. Go get your sister and sit at the table. We'll have a race to see who gets there first, you and your sister or me and your dad. Winner gets to eat spaghetti and meatballs. Gabriel looked at her like she had 3 heads, then skulked out of the room. Hey, buttface, Mom said for you to get to the table for dinner. Gabriel! Sarah screeched. What have I told you about calling your sister that ugly name? Calm down, hun. He's just being a typical boy. She piled spaghetti noodles on a plate and thrust it at him. I don't want our 3-year-old to think it's okay to call people horrible names. James ladled sauce over the noodles on 2 plates. Just think, he's not even a full-fledged smart-mouthed teenager yet. All the fun times are still ahead of us. He flashed her a cheesy smile and disappeared. I know 2 kids who better be in here by the count of 3 or they won't get dinner tonight. 1. A stampede of feet mingled with laughter rolled from the other room. Sarah smiled. They were a band of hooligans, but they were her band of hooligans.